Hello and welcome to ADHDFest, the podcast all about adult ADHD with a little bit of law of attraction and self-development thrown in there. I am your host, Tara Pratt, and today's topic is going to be all about willpower. Can we use it? How does it affect us with ADHD? I am here to tell you that we absolutely can. But before I go on with that, I want to say stick around till the end if you want to hear something new, brand new, that is coming to ADHDFest. I'll tell you all about that at the end. So, willpower. I was inspired to do this topic today because I read a few books on willpower, and honestly, the neurotypical advice is so back to front for ADHD. It just does not work. So I thought, okay, let's talk about it. I can't believe I haven't talked about it in all this time on the pod. So first of all, let's talk about the definition of willpower, because this actually surprised me. So the psychological definition by scientists, therapists, is the ability to delay gratification, resisting short-term temptations in order to meet long-term goals. It also includes the capacity to override an unwanted thought, feeling, or impulse and control your actions, emotions, and urges or bad habits. So I think they're like referring to there in the first part, they're talking about like working towards long-term goals. So like delaying gratification, as in instead of scrolling right now, if I want to write a book, that's my long-term goal, I'm going to sit down and write for half an hour instead of scrolling on my phone. One would be short-term gratification and one would be long-term. And then in the second part, where they're talking about capacity to override unwanted thoughts and feelings and controlling your urges or bad habits, that's more like self-control. So not necessarily sacrificing something like scrolling for writing. It's more like, okay, I want to stop smoking, so I'm not going to do that. So it's willpower in two different ways, if you know what I mean. But the first part of it, talking about the ability to delay gratification and resist short-term temptations and stuff like that and meet your long-term goals, the reason it surprised me, yes, it makes sense for willpower, but as I was reading it, I was thinking this could read as discipline to me. Like, I've always thought of myself as not a very disciplined person because I can't get myself to wake up on time. I can't get myself to do all the things that ADHD like stops you from doing. I just thought of myself as a not disciplined person. But when I read back that definition of willpower, that sounds like discipline to me. So then I went and I looked up the definition of discipline, and this is what came up. Discipline: obeying rules. Practice and training, which I've put in brackets myself here, conditioning. Basically, it's like programming. A code of behaviour, carefully controlled behaviours to a certain standard with a punishment for disobedience. And why I found this so interesting is because I have always confused willpower and discipline. And I have a sneaky suspicion that you might have confused this too. I set myself a task, I set myself a goal, and then I think to myself, okay, I just need willpower. That's all I need. If I can just stay strong in my willpower, then I will not fail. And that means to me following certain rules. And I've just had this aha moment of that is absolutely societal conditioning. There are no rules with willpower apart from the ones we set ourselves. Discipline is to a certain standard, and if we don't reach that standard, then we are punished for it, and that is either by society or, in my case, by myself. I would set myself a task of, okay, I need to be up early in the mornings, I need to make my bed, I need to do XYZ in order to be a good person, in order to achieve my goals, in order to be disciplined. And yes, that is discipline, but you don't need to get up early in order to achieve long-term goals. You don't need to get up early in order to have willpower. That's a completely different thing. And because I thought, God, I can't get up in the morning because I don't have any willpower. No, actually, I just don't conform to discipline. And that's a very different thing. Discipline means that I conform to standards set by society, set by invisible rules that we all follow that early risers. It's been programmed into us. It's been conditioned into us. It literally says it in the description. It's controlled, learned behavior. And we punish ourselves if we don't do it. And the way I would punish myself is basically really bad self-criticism, really bad inner voice telling me that I'm a failure, that I'm rubbish, that I can't do anything. So what we're talking about today is a very different thing. Willpower is just a resource. It's not learned, it's not controlled, it's not some standard that you have to reach, and if you don't attain it, then you're a bad person or you get punished. Willpower is just a resource. It's just an energy within you. It's just that ability to control your urges. That's all it is. It isn't you being measured about how well you control your urges. It's just a resource that is actually finite. We wake up with a certain amount of willpower every day, and it's different levels every day, particularly when you're on neurodivergent. Some days you're going to wake up feeling absolutely great and full of willpower, and you can get loads done because you really can see that end goal. And some days you're going to wake up and you're just not going to have the energy. That resource is going to be depleted, and that's okay. So it's not about discipline. It's not about consistency. It's about willpower and how it works for those of us with ADHD. And side note, if you are a woman or you do have cycles, you have a period, then your hormonal cycle will also affect this. Some days you're going to have the energy for more willpower, and some days you are not, and that is not within your control. And the sooner you accept that, the better you will do, and the less you punish yourself, because this isn't discipline. It's just a resource that we want to use to our advantage. So in short, willpower is your friend. If you can learn to use it and work with it, that is going to be our best friend with ADHD. And discipline is actually the enemy. We want to stay away from discipline. We want to stay away from punishing ourselves when we don't reach a certain target or we don't conform to a certain behavior. So ADHD willpower is actually depleted much more quickly than a neurotypical's willpower. And this is due to weak executive functioning, impulsivity, and distractions. And these are all ADHD symptoms, and they're all present within your brain. You don't have any control of them. It's not a personality flaw. It's reactions within your brain. It's different shaped parts of your brain that are affected by ADHD. So executive functioning means we can't prioritize tasks. We don't know which ones are more important than others. We see them all the same. Impulsivity means that we just don't think and we just grab stuff. So that's going to affect our willpower because we're forgetting to use it. And distractions, we're easily distracted, and so we forget what we're using our willpower for. Then, on top of that, short-term gratification equals dopamine. So when we're working on something that is going to give us short-term gratification, like picking up a chocolate bar and eating it, we're going to get dopamine instantly. And as ADHDers, we are dopamine low and we're always seeking it, the fastest way to get it. And delayed gratification equals no dopamine. And usually the tasks are quite boring. So say I'm writing a book. Yes, once I get into it, I might enjoy it. But compared to picking up a chocolate bar, it's just not as fun. You just don't get that same dopamine hit. And there's no reward because I might write a couple of pages. No one's reading it. It's not a book yet. There's no dopamine with that. On top of that, time blindness gives us an attitude of now or not now. So as ADHDers, we don't really see time as linear. That's what contributes to the executive functioning problems. We either will do a task now or we'll do it later. And later could be in an hour, it could be in a week, it could be in a month, it could be in 5 years. It's not real. It's definitely not real to me. Unless I'm doing something now, time just ebbs away. So if I haven't written a book and been a famous author and sold it and everyone loves it and is reading it right now, then it's just something for the future. Like, I don't really care about it as much. Whereas something in front of me now, like my friend calling me, is a now thing and I can do it right now. I can achieve that right now. So all of these things really contribute to how willpower works for us, and it really depletes much, much, much faster than the neurotypicals does. And so it's so important that we approach willpower in the opposite way to neurotypicals. So what do I mean by that? I mean, do the easiest task first. Look at your to-do list, make one first, and then decide what is the easiest, most fun task on here. Or if there's no fun tasks, what is the quickest win on here? So let's say making my bed. It's not the most important task on the list, but will it give me a better instant boost than cleaning the toilet? Yeah, it will, because it takes 2 minutes. It's not dirty. I don't need gloves and all that to do it. And it's going to make me feel better all day when I walk into my room because the bed is made and it looks neat and I feel like I've achieved something. So that would be like an easy task to do off my to-do list. So look at your to-do list first thing and do that easiest task first. What do you feel like doing rather than the most important or urgent? And I know that feels backwards, but it's only because we've been programmed to do the opposite. Neurotypicals follow that whole eat that frog philosophy with the hardest task first. And that's because they know they've got their most willpower first thing in the morning. So they're going to use all that willpower then, and then the rest of the tasks as they deplete will get easier, which makes logical sense if you're neurotypical. But for us, for one, we don't always wake up with our most willpower in the morning. Sometimes I have my most willpower last thing at night. Sometimes it's 2 o'clock in the morning when I have my most willpower. But also, if we start with the hardest first, we either go into paralysis and get nothing done because it's so overwhelming and big and boring, or we give up halfway through, which has just a huge impact on our self-esteem, and it boosts that belief. It absolutely solidifies that belief that we can't do it and we're rubbish and we're failures. So we absolutely do not want to eat the frog first. Nope. ADHD in particular is always more productive when we're already in motion. Have you ever heard people say online or memes or whatever, don't sit down? Like, that is one of the number one tips for ADHD is just don't sit down. Don't take off your shoes when you get in the house because it signals to your brain that you're finished and that you can go and sit down. Keep moving for as long as you can. And I don't mean like grind yourself into the ground. We all need to rest and relax. But if you need to get certain things done, sitting down is going to be your worst enemy. And this is because we have really big issues with starting projects. We have huge procrastination issues and we get stuck in ADHD paralysis. It's like pushing a huge boulder down a hill, really heavy boulder. It's so hard to get it going. It takes a lot of effort, that first push. Sometimes it may take you 3, 4, 5 pushes just to get a little bit of momentum and get it moving on that first roll. But the more consistent motion and energy we put into it, the less energy it takes as it picks up speed down the hill. And eventually you don't even have to push, as the momentum does all the work for you. And that is exactly how we work as ADHDers. You're not going to want to even try pushing that boulder for a hard, boring task that you're dreading. It looks too heavy. It looks too difficult. You don't feel like you can do it. You've got no energy. By choosing that easy, fun task, it's like picking up a stick and using it as a lever. It's like, okay, well, maybe I can move it if I've got this lever to do it with. And that can help me push down. It's just helping you. It's giving you that motivation of like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can tick that off the list and I feel like I can get it done. And then once you have done that, once you've done that first push, you're like, oh, well, I may as well try this next task too. Once you're in motion, it's so much easier to just move on to the next task. For example, I know in the morning, if I can get myself to make a healthy breakfast, which takes like 10-15 minutes to do, it's so much easier for me to get myself to do the dishes because they're right there. I'm waiting for my breakfast to cook and I can just fill up the dishwasher while I'm waiting, or change a load of laundry, because once I've done the dishes, the laundry room is just there. I can go in and just take out what's in the dryer, and if there's something there, I'll throw it in. And then once I'm back to the kitchen to get my food. I eat it, I take it to the bin's full. I'm like, may as well just empty it. Can you see how one thing leads to the next? But if I was sitting down scrolling and I was like, come on, go and do the dishes, Tara. Come on, just get up, go over to the dishes and do it. It's so much harder to get myself to do it. If I think to myself, I need to do the dishes and I need to empty the bin and I need to do the laundry, I'm just basically going to go into overwhelm because it's like too many things. But if I'm already in action, it just seems simple to add that on. And that's why it's funny, because this catches us out quite a lot, because when we're in motion, a lot of the times, because we put things off for so long, we've procrastinated, it often makes us late, because usually an urgent deadline like meeting a friend or going for an appointment or something does give us the motivation to get up and moving. But then once we are up and moving, we notice all these jobs that would only take 1 second, so we start doing them, and then we look up at the clock and we realize we're like 10 minutes late. So can you see how it does work once you're in motion? We just need to make sure it works at the right time, not when we're trying to get out the door and we don't want to be late. ADHD willpower is there, it's usable, it's going to run out a lot more quickly than neurotypicals. And you might ask yourself, okay, well, if I don't do the hard task first, the important, hard, big, overwhelming task first, when will I do it? Because I'm going to run out of steam. So what I would say to that is, yes, you're going to run out of steam and you might not get to that important, big task. But the likelihood is that once you are in motion, if that task really is urgent and it is worrying you, you will make a start on it. At least, even if you don't get it finished, you will make some progress and some start on it. Whereas if you begin with that task, the likelihood is you either won't start at all and you won't get any of those easy to-dos off your to-do list either, or you'll start, you'll give up, you won't do any of the easy to-dos and you'll be feeling really bad about yourself. Whereas if you've started with those easy tasks and ticked a few of them off, you've got something to be proud of already. And the momentum might take you into that harder task. If it doesn't, that's okay. You have ADHD, it's a finite resource, your willpower. So try again tomorrow. You're going to eventually get to that big task and you're going to work your way through it little by little every day. And I know, big picture, that's not ideal. We want to be able to get up and do that hard task, start to finish, and have it done. Unfortunately, that's not usually possible with ADHD unless there's a looming deadline and we can hyper-focus on it and do it. It's not going to happen. So instead of wishing that would happen and ending up with absolutely nothing and your life slowly building momentum in a negative direction, try this. Try with the easy thing first. See the results and let that give you self-confidence. Let it boost you. And eventually you will get on top of that big thing. And if you don't, you wouldn't have done it anyway the other way around. At least this way, you have gotten the other easy to-dos off your list at least, and not everything is going to fall apart. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It really does work for me, and I'm hoping that it works for you as well. But another quick tip is using mindfulness techniques. My easy task on my to-do list is always mindfulness work, because it builds momentum more quickly. Because 1, I like to do mindfulness work, and 2, it helps build willpower, whether that's meditation or emotional freedom technique, which is EFT tapping, or just journaling or writing down some gratitudes. Calming yourself first thing in the morning helps you build that willpower as well. You can do it throughout the day as well. Like I said, sometimes I'm much more productive at night. It could help to do a little mindfulness 5-minute routine just before you get started at night, and it's going to help build that willpower. And when you're calm, you can resist the urges for the instant gratification. Don't know about you, but when I'm really tired or really stressed or really overwhelmed or feel just not good within myself, I've got anxiety, that is when all my bad habits creep in. That is when I have no willpower whatsoever. So we're just trying to keep ourselves nice and calm, nice and regulated, and that is going to help you exponentially. Now, I did promise at the end of the episode that I would tell you about something brand new coming to ADHDFest. A little while ago, I didn't announce it everywhere because I know my own capacity and I don't want to overload my plate, because I really love doing the podcast and I don't ever want to feel behind on other things and like I can't do this for free for you, because I love giving the free value every week. But I did offer out accountability coaching just once a week for 5 people, and I've really enjoyed that. But one thing about ADHD is A, we struggle with consistency, and B, sometimes we don't like to be perceived like we don't want to get on a video call with someone, and C, we often forget appointments, and that just is part of the course. That just comes with the territory. So I was thinking how I could impact more people without these issues, and I came up with what I personally think is a genius idea. So the main factors that have supported my personal growth are accountability to someone I trust, body doubling, and help with prioritizing tasks. That makes a world of difference to me. And we do cover all of that in the accountability coaching sessions, the one-on-ones. But as I say, I can't do it for many people. And also those issues get in the way of missing appointments and stuff and consistency. So this is my plan. Accountability e-coaching. You can message me direct, anytime, unlimited messages, and get a response within 24 hours. And this would be Monday to Friday. So if you message like a Saturday or Sunday, I would respond on the Monday. And this can be used for accountability, where you share your to-dos with me and then set a check-in time to tell me if you did them or not, or what you managed off your to-dos. It can be used for body doubling. That's where you let me know what task you are tackling live, so that you know that I know that you're doing it. And then prioritizing tasks. This is where I'm just giving you advice on like what your priorities would be. Say you've got like 5 things you need to be doing right now and you can't work out where to start and you're overwhelmed and you need help with it. That's where we would discuss. You would ask me the question and we would discuss, okay, what's important to you? Let's prioritize them. It's like executive functioning together. I'm your soundboard. And then bonus on top of that, any ADHD questions that you get pop into your head at any time, you can just ask me them. And you don't get that in the weekly sessions, because obviously we're only on for like half an hour. But with these unlimited messages, you're not going to forget your questions, because you can just literally send it to me in the moment. And I do think this is a genius idea personally. It means that I could do this for more people. It still would be a limited number, because obviously I'd just be messaging all day if I did it for like hundreds of people. So I think probably I'd limit it to like 10 people. You know that I love to share my experience and opinions from this podcast. I am not a medical doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. And if you need to speak to someone like that, then you should. I am not certified in any way as a counsellor. I am just those few years ahead of a lot of the listeners here, and I've got my lived experience that I draw from. So if you enjoy the podcast and you resonate with some of the things, or if they've worked for you, then this could possibly be helpful for you. And it would be personalised to you as well, which is way better than just listening to the podcast. It's done through an encrypted, easy to use platform, which is called Signal. It's absolutely free, an app. It's very like WhatsApp, but it just keeps it separate from our personal messages, because I know we all tend to ignore WhatsApp. And it's on a pay-as-you-go weekly basis with no subscription. So there's no sign up, you're not tied in. You literally just pay for a week. And if you don't want to use it the week after, you don't pay for another week. Or you can pay for like 4 weeks up front for a little discount. I really feel like this is going to be such a cool way to bypass all the pitfalls that come with ADHD, anxiety and rejection sensitivity, being on camera and stuff like that. And it's going to maximize the impact of my help for you. So what are your thoughts? If you think that's going to be helpful, let me know. I'll try and include a link down below, but I'm in the middle of actually making that link go live. So if the link isn't there, then do message me on Instagram. Check out the website. I'm going to leave links for everything else down below. Don't forget that if you don't want to do the e-counselling or e-coaching, there's always the body doubling club. I absolutely love it in there. It's so cheap at just $5.99 a month, English pounds. I don't know what it is in other currencies, but you can check that out. There's a link down below. You can either do it through Apple Podcasts if you're here, or over on the Patreon, which is a bit more interactive because you can actually comment and stuff like that. But we love it over there. There's lots of episodes, and I'm currently uploading right now after this a morning routine that is customizable, so you can put it into your own order of playlist, and it's just body doubling our way through our morning routine. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week. Bye.